This is In Character. I'm your host, Gerard Robinson, Vice President for Education at the Advanced Studies in Culture Foundation. Amanda, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Happy
And you're in Georgia, my other home where I lived for a number of years.
That's right. Yeah, I'm right down here, not too far from you. But yes, we're actually at fall weather today, which was kind of nice because, in Georgia, we kind of only have 2 seasons. So
That
having
is
a
true.
sweater today, that's exciting.
That's a good time for Georgia.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. What made you decide to choose to leave your own classroom to become an administrator?
Well, my journey was, I think opportunities opened themselves up to me. It wasn't something I planned. My husband always gets on to me because I don't have my 1 year and 5 year plan written down like he does. I don't. So a lot of the things that happened to me happened. And so I, as a teacher, went into the role of an instructional coach first. So that's when I first left the classroom. I loved working with the teachers, co-teaching, leading professional development. I love it. I thrive on that. But I love learning. So then when the assistant principal job came available, it was kind of the perfect balance because I was still able to be that instructional leader, but I was still able to also help the students because you do a lot of work with students and parents, a lot of building relationships. And I was hesitant to go into that role because of the fact that I love what I do. But I think mentioned it in our group discussion. Someone once said to me, if all the good teachers stay in the classroom, then who's going to lead? And that really resonated with me. And I thought about it and said, I would rather me lead and do the best I can than not, and then complain about someone else. So I felt like it was kind of my calling and my time to kind of step up and see what I could do to serve others.
So what grade or grade levels did you teach prior to becoming an administrator?
I taught pre-K for about this long, right? Because then I got hired full-time to teach fourth grade and get insurance. That changed it. But I taught third, fourth, and fifth grade. And then I also served as the instructional coach. And in those roles, I worked at a Title I school. And then I eventually, an admin, I served in two roles. I actually was an assistant principal at two schools at the same time, which is interesting how we did that. But as a teacher, I worked in a Title I school. So I was always the house for the SPED students or EIP, and then I also was gifted lead teacher at 1 year. So I've been able to teach pretty much the gamut from abilities at different levels.
So with that experience, how do you or did you use your leadership role to create a culture of learning and community inside the school, or maybe some of the partnerships you've created as an administrator?
I think the most important part as a leader is to first listen, kind of see what's going on. You want to come in and change everything, and you really have to just sit in those PLCs, sit in those grade level meetings and kind of observe and see what's happening, looking at the data, then making some instructional decisions. And so when I would go into meetings, I would first kind of ask some questions, just kind of figure out, let the data speak for itself. But then you kind of have to model it. You have to show the teachers that you're willing to do whatever it takes as well. And if it's you coming in and model teaching, I've done that before, co-teaching, coming in, helping them figure out, how do I DI my lesson? How do I analyze this data effectively? I think we have to, as administrators, stay very current with that type of thing. You can't do a lot from your office when it comes to working with these teachers. And then really and truly, they're the experts. So you want to come in, you want to listen, and then you want to say, what do I need to do to serve you? And so as a teacher coming into admin, I think I've always tried really hard to remember what it's like to be a teacher and to keep my teacher hat on, because once we kind of remove that, then I feel like our effectiveness starts to dwindle. So I think listening and then modeling and then serving, whatever they need, here we are, what can I do for you?
Tell us a little bit about the school where you serve as a leader.
So I'll tell you about both schools first, because this is my 4th year, but I've served at both schools. I've just transferred over to one school. So as the assistant principal of discipline, which is what I did for 3 years, I served basically Jekyll and Hyde. So one of my schools was a Title I school that was 100% free reduced lunch. And then my other school was our more affluent school that it's literally like this, right? Completely different problems, if you will, or situations, but you handle them the same exact way. So it was really great for me as a leader, because even though I was working in schools that are polar opposites, and the way that you talk with parents, the way that you talk with the students is different because of that culture, because of where you're at and what they're used to. you still lead the same though. You're still listening, you're still leading. And it's funny because at one school, a student may, let's say a cuss word, and you don't necessarily write it up right away because it's different, right? We need to teach them. We need to model this is not appropriate. What you're doing at home or whatever you've heard, we don't do that. So you're not as hard. In the other school, you never hear that. So if someone's doing that, it's way more egregious, right? So you kind of have to feel where you're at and let that kind of lead how you're leading. And I think that I had wonderful leaders that helped me with that and helped me to be able to serve those schools appropriately and effectively, or at least trying to. So those are two schools. And currently I'm at the school that is the more fluent one because the assistant principal of instruction became available. And so I was able to roll into that and use all that the instructional coaching skills that I was able to develop, and I'm loving it. I mean, looking at data and learning, I love it all. But having that APD hat, having that assistant principal of discipline helps me with the operational side and to really be able to understand the bigger picture of management and being able to serve on that larger scale as well. So it's definitely helped craft me into a leader that I am.
You spent time in the classroom at different levels, different types of students. You've worked Title I affluent, and so you've seen the gamut of education. And you've also received an award for your great work in teaching. So walk us through the moment someone said, I think we're going to nominate you for X Prize, and all the way to the point when you heard your name called for Z Prize.
Mm. Yeah, oh, so humbling. So when I won Teacher of the Year for my school, which really is, I think, one of the most prestigious ones because it's your peers. It's not an interview, it's not a video lesson. It's the people that see you day in and day out. Honored to be that. So won that. My county has about 2,000 teachers, and they do a top 10. They do interviews. I didn't even think, you know what? Won that, which was a really big deal because I'm actually a product of my county, my district, and I know the caliber of teachers we have. So that was very humbling to be able to be selected to represent them. Then at the state level, which to be honest, I never even knew that existed. You know, when I was teaching, you're just grinding. You're just teaching every day, doing your lessons. You're not thinking about, you know, who's going to see me make the slime today so I can get an award. You're just not thinking about it, right? So when that came about, really then it's your pressure of, I need to serve my district. I hope I'm really doing them right by what I'm doing, what I'm saying. So here's the funny thing. When I got the phone call, and in Georgia, when you make top 10 out of the state, they call you to make sure that you still want this because we take a year sabbatical, traveling around speaking. So when they called me, I just had my second child. She was 4 months old. So I was nursing, and I'm thinking logistically, what does this look like? And then not teaching, not doing what you love and going around and talking. And you have to be very vulnerable when you're out there talking, you're putting yourself out there, you know, that's a lot of pressure. And so luckily for me, my husband is like the eternal optimist. You know, it could be storming and he's like, the grass is going to look good tomorrow. You know, he's just super positive. And so I remember talking to him and he said, you know, if you get, we'll work it out. We have family here, traveling, you'll be fine. And so when I went in that ceremony, when they were about to announce it, I had so much peace with, if it does happen, you know, it'll be all right. And if it doesn't, hey, I'm good. I was good before I came. So being named that was a shock. I'm the only person from my county that has won for my state. And it's just, for me, it was so exciting because I can't believe Houston County hasn't won. When I tell you my county is exemplary, and I say that honestly, I don't think my superintendent will see this, but it's amazing. We really do a great job of having those leadership people in place that help us become better. I really am the leader I am today because they've helped me. They've mentored me. They've really supported me to get there. So having that position was humbling to say the least. And I feel like every day I'm still trying to live up to it because I just don't feel like I'm doing enough. You know, I'm not. And they said, you're Georgia Teacher of the Year. And I'm like, yes, you know, I'm still working. I'm still trying to live up to that title, but it is a humbling thing.
So you had a chance to travel throughout the Peach State. If there's one or two memories that really stick out to you from that experience, share it with us.
Oh, wow. You know, I think I was able to visit a school once, and it was in a very small area I had not been to. And I've traveled this state pretty well. And I remember coming in and seeing these teachers that were, oh, you would have thought I was in like a city. You know, it was a very rural area, but their teaching was so on point, and they were. I was inspired. You know, you have those moments when you're just like, wow, this is why I teach. That's one that resonated with me because when I first drove up, I was like, wow, this is such a small town. There's like one elementary school. But then I also saw the needs and what they needed. So I think that was something that kind of transformed me into realizing that I'm not just a teacher, I'm an advocate. I have to be engaged. I have to help because even though my county has technology and my county has, different leadership academies and resources and true support, this county is doing amazing things with nothing. And I think that kind of sparked that advocacy side. And the second thing is I got to go to the Ron Clark Academy. And all I know is I went back to my principal and said, where's my slide? You know, he has a slide in his school. If we had a slide, you know, she's like, really, Amanda? But I think those two things really showed me how, in different ways, how Ron Clark, you know, took this vision that he wanted and made it happen. And then I saw this other school that was making it happen with nothing. And what can I do to help on the larger scale, to help all teachers? Because we all need that support.
Well, many people in the Peach State may never have an opportunity to meet their school's teacher of the year, county teacher of the year, the state of the year. So having you here is important. And so thank you so much for sharing your story and for your leadership. And look forward to more conversations in the future with In Character.
Thank you for having me.